back to the Rich Couch. It's your host, Deborah, and I have a guest here with me today. I'm going to let her introduce herself, and we'll just jump right into our conversation. And if you are new to my YouTube channel, here on the Rich Couch, we're all about having rich conversations. We believe in enriching relationships, and we want to enrich your life. All right, let's jump right into it. Can you introduce yourself to the lovely people?
Yes, hello, beautiful people. My name is Dr. Marcelline Girlie, and I am so excited to be with you all today. How are you?
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for being here with us. So, I know you through your sister, my friend, my college friend, but they don't know you. So, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, what area of medicine you study, where are you from, do you have any kids, husband, all that stuff.
Awesome. Well, I am from the island of St. Martin, so I'm a transplant here to the United States, but grew up here in Florida. I have been married for 6 years to my amazing husband, Courtney Girlie. I have a little one who is 3 years old, and I am currently expecting our second one in November. I can't wait to meet our pumpkin, which will be a girl. As far as my career, I am a family and psychiatric dual board certified nurse practitioner with my doctorate degree. And I currently practice full time in psychiatry. And of course, it always leads into physical health. So we're always practicing that. And I also own a boutique, plus size curvy woman boutique. So that's all about
Nice.
me.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. So it just, from you saying that, it sounds like you are a busy, busy woman.
All day. I feel like it never turns off. But I believe every woman is busy in their own way, in their own right, and own passion.
That's
And this is the calling and the stage that God has me in right now. And I'm enjoying it a lot. I'm enjoying it a lot. Learning balance, his balance.
yeah. Oh my goodness. I don't even think about the word balance in my current schedule. I can't imagine balance. You're about to have a baby like in almost a month, actually.
Yes, yes,
know? And you
yeah,
work full time and you have a
yes,
boutique. Can you say the name of the boutique again?
yes. Curvy Centrals Boutique. Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah.
awesome. And is this an online boutique?
It is all e-commerce, all online. Yes. We are all about making sure our curves and our confidence collide and making that woman, that curvy plus side woman, confident in everything that she wears.
Oh, I love that. I love it. I love it. I really believe in walking in your confidence as a woman. So I just love that promotion. That's awesome. All right. So this we are at the tail end of September, and I've been sharing. September is PCOS Awareness Month, and PCOS stands for Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome. If you're not familiar with that, it's a hormone imbalance that I have been just living with and journeying with since 2016 when I was diagnosed. So I wanted to invite some friends on here, some women on here to share about their journey. And we hope this conversation enriches your life if you have been recently diagnosed or you've been living with PCOS for a long time. So, Marcelin, can you tell us about when did you find out you had PCOS?
I was diagnosed with PCOS back in 2005.
Okay.
I was a college student. There was a lot going on as far as high stressors, and I thought my cycle was missing because, or I was skipping cycles because of stress.
Mhm.
Um, and it wasn't until I hadn't had a cycle for a good maybe 3 to 4 months or so that I actually went and saw a OBGYN.
Mhm.
But previous to that, I had always suffered from excessive cramping.
Mm,
So I was kind of like, well, at least I'm not cramping. But
yeah.
along the journey, I was just gaining weight, feeling really uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And it didn't have to do with the way I was eating.
Mm-hmm.
I'm already a plus size curvy woman and very proud of it. I've always been that way, but it was to the point where it was out of my control.
Yeah.
It didn't matter the diet regimen, it didn't matter how I exercised, it was not coming off. So initially, I thought something was wrong with my thyroid.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go in to see my OBGYN, and we checked all that off. Everything looks great with that. But then she drew some labs, and it showed that I was becoming like like my uh, insulinemia, pretty much is what it's called. My insulin levels were pretty much almost pre-diabetic,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that was what was stopping my cycles.
Oh wow.
um, if you know a little bit about the hormonal imbalance that happens with PCOS, it's actually a metabolic syndrome that happens,
Mm-hmm.
where the body doesn't know what to do with the insulin levels at that point. So it just pretty much have free insulin, free sugars just floating around.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was making me pack on the weight, and causing my cycles to be missed.
Yeah.
And when you don't have a cycle, you're considered anovulatory. You're not typically ovulating every month like every woman would be.
Right.
So I was placed on birth control instantly. And it did help as far as me having a chemically induced cycle
Mm-hmm.
every month. And I was faithfully taking it, and I didn't have cramps, during those cycles because they're chemically induced. And I was doing fine. I remember when I got to see another OBGYN who I kind of thank him for what he said to me, where
Mm.
he said it was pretty much my fault that I had PCOS.
Whoa. He
Yeah,
told you it was your fault?
it was my fault that I had PCOS because of my curves and my weight, and it was really
Wow.
hurtful. And I thought to myself, okay, well, what does that even mean? He was like, well, it's going to be very hard for you to get pregnant one day,
Mm.
if at all.
Wow.
And at that point, I went and just honestly sought God, and it was like, okay, well, Lord, what does that mean for my future? Having been dating my husband for quite some time, and I knew his intentions were to get married, and I know that he wanted children.
Mm-hmm.
So I told my parents about it, and they gave me so many different options as far as freezing my eggs, trying to retrieve them. And mind you, I'm in my early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what? That costs money.
Yeah. And you're a
Money that
college student at this point, right?
right. I'm like, money I don't have, and I'm not married yet. So what are you really asking of me? And they told me that my ultrasounds looked like my ovaries with PCOS. You have lots of small cysts, fluid filled cysts. They're like my ovaries look like bags of grapes on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
So they wouldn't see me actually having any sort of ovulation. So I honestly didn't know what to do at that time. I decided like, okay, well, I still have a lot of time. I'm not getting married yet. Nothing's gonna happen. I can just, enjoy my life. But of course, that day did happen when my husband proposed.
Mm.
And I remember the conversation we had within that week. And one of the questions I had, one of the topics I brought up was, hey, if we can have kids, would you be okay with that? And he looks at me like, what are you talking about? I was like, well, this is what, I have been told. And he said, well, I don't accept that. I don't accept that diagnosis. I don't accept that, that would be our future. We want children. We know and we love the Lord. And if God puts that desire in our hearts,
Mm-hmm.
he's going to make it come to pass.
Right.
I looked at him like, whoa,
Okay.
okay, okay, well,
Okay.
check me,
Okay, sir.
check me, check me. Okay. So we get married, and honestly, within the first, because I knew all of this was happening in my mind, and because of, I always call it my medical brain and my spiritual brain,
Mm-hmm.
all of it has to come into alignment with the Word of God, no matter what. But my anxiety was so high, I was operating that medical brain. I was like, well, we need to do this as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
There's a time frame, there's a clock that we're all following.
Right.
And if we all know the truth, there is no clock. God's timing is his timing. But we always we fool ourselves with that.
Yeah.
So we immediately started trying naturally by ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And here goes year one, nothing happened. Year two, nothing happened. Top of year three, I said, well, I'm going to go see someone. Went to an OBGYN who gave me absolutely no hope, and pretty much told us that I need to find a different route as far
Wow.
as conceiving.
Really?
And
What did they mean by that? What did they mean by finding a different route?
right, we're talking about IUI, intrauterine insemination,
Okay.
IVF,
Mhm.
and the biggest one he told me was pretty much just adopt, because trying to retrieve an egg with my stage of PCOS
Mhm.
would have been difficult,
Mm.
because again, I would not have a cycle if I was not on birth control.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, so and you start to fool yourself, like I said again, and accept that that's just what it is. But my husband and I really started praying and seeking God about it. We're like, well, God, we want children. We know that you are the giver of life. We trust in your hands. We know that you are the one to create, and you will provide this baby. So we sought God, and He told us it was pretty much a formula. I always call it our formula for our family.
Mhm.
And He said to me, He said, my husband was traveling. He said to both of us separately, he was in another country and I was here. And He said, I want you to sow, I want you to fast, and I want you to pray.
Mm.
And how that actually looked like, I had no idea, because I
Mhm.
thought I was already doing that.
Mhm.
And so I asked God, like, what does that look like? So I'm praising, I'm part of church, I'm this ministry, that ministry, I'm going. I'm going after Jesus, you
Right.
know? What does that mean? Because I'm still going through, but God was like, you're still going, you're still chasing after me, but you're still doing you.
Mm.
And what He meant by doing you was, I was actually taking all the hormones. Actually had 3 failed cycles with hormones and IVF. And we did the IUI first, the intrauterine. We failed. You have to do the treatments like you're doing IVF for you to do that, like to stimulate your ovaries to
Oh,
produce an egg.
okay.
So I'm injecting myself. I'm doing all these things, which I do. I never discourage women to not do, because God has a path for every woman and how you
Right.
will conceive.
Every woman's story, everyone's
It's
path is
completely
different.
different.
It's so different.
Completely different.
Mhm.
But we did that. We spent that time. We went through that, and we were believing that that was going to be the way.
Yeah.
But God told us there was something else
Yeah.
that I had to do, and He told us to pray, to fast, and to sow. And so we went on a fast, seeking God's face, and God taught us about forgiveness.
Mm.
Unforgiveness binds, the wound, and how we couldn't produce in that season because I had a lot of unforgiveness, a lot of things that I didn't think that I was holding on to, but I was.
Wow.
So I had to let go of that past hurts and people and all of it. I just had to really sincerely lay it down. And I actually had to let go of my pride,
Mm.
because throughout this entire
That
journey,
good old pride.
good
Ooh.
old pride,
Oh my
honey,
God.
this entire journey, no one knew my husband and I had been going through all of that for all of those years.
Wait, what do you mean nobody knew?
No, but I never shared. We never shared with anyone. When we finally told,
Really?
finally told our family, they're like, what? Y'all been doing what? What? Because they're thinking we're just not trying to have a baby.
Oh.
And every time they would
Oh, wait
ask,
a minute. Wait a minute. Ah! Oh, wait. Okay, because you guys were newly married people, right?
mm-hmm,
And newly married people always get these questions because I know I got them all the time. When are you guys gonna have a baby? When are you guys gonna have a baby? So what was the response when people would ask you guys?
typically we would say we're too busy. My husband was traveling a lot. I was working
Mhm.
on another degree. So I was like, oh, we're in school. Oh, he's traveling the world. All this stuff. We put all these facades up and kept ourselves busy.
Mhm.
We kept ourselves busy. So the questions would have to be about our schedule.
Okay.
And it wasn't because we didn't have the desire, we just didn't know how to approach the subject
Mm.
with people because everyone around us had babies.
Right. Right.
Everyone was
Yeah.
getting pregnant.
Yeah.
So I'm invited to everybody baby shower.
Yeah.
And I'm going to everything. And I'm looking at God like, really, Jesus? But the part that really sticks out to me and I've learned so much from is when God told us to sow.
Mm.
We thought it was about us, increasing our tithe or giving more in our offering, but it was actually to sow in our time into other people.
Oh wow. Can you expound on that? What is that?
Yes. Well, during that time, it just so happened in my church, everybody was getting pregnant.
Uh-huh.
I'm talking about like 12 women at the same time.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, I'm looking at them like, what water y'all drinking from so I can go to that fountain? Because what are y'all doing that's different from me, God? Like, what is it that I don't have or possess to be a mom? It was all these questions about me, 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 me.
Mm-hmm.
And God's like, no, I want you to sow. What started happening in our church, we were a newer ministry. We wanted to serve our congregation, especially the women who were having babies. I had to help host a new mommy and me class for our church. And I'm sitting there like, okay, Jesus,
Wow.
mommy care. Okay, let's do this. And at that time, I was practicing full time in pediatric.
Mm-hmm.
So I was seeing newborns all the time
All the
and
time. So
all
at
day.
work you're seeing newborns, and now at church you're part of this mommy and me.
Yeah, and I'm thinking to
Watch.
myself, this is a lot, Jesus. Like, and nobody knows. So I'm like, okay, I just have to
And
put on a
then
smile on
nobody
myself.
knew this whole time you guys are trying to have kids.
Yes. So I keep a smile on my face, keep everything great, and then like go home and just sulk.
Yeah.
Like, why not me? And we started a meal train at the church for the women after they've given birth to their babies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I started getting text messages about joining the meal train. And I'm like, I don't have the time to cook dinner for nobody. I just get off of work. I'm exhausted, Jesus.
Yeah.
You know? And in my heart, I felt a tug like, no, you're going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to do this. You're going to cook a meal or deliver a meal or whatever. And I said, okay, Lord, I'll do it. Not knowing that was my sowing season of me
Mm.
setting my pride aside, setting myself and my want aside.
Oh wow.
So I went and delivered meals to every woman that had had a baby. And not only you thinking that you're
Like
bringing a
you
meal,
personally.
brought the meal. And it used to be nuts because not only would you just bring in things like, oh, I'm just gonna give them a bag and walk out, like, oh, have a great day. I don't want to disturb you and baby. No, because they knew I practiced in pediatrics. Hey, come in. I have a question for you.
Oh.
Oh, come in. I have a concern. And my heart is like, I don't want to come in. And thank you, but no, thank you. But God wanted that for me because at the end of each time I delivered a meal, I ended up wanting to, my heart was always tugged and led to pray for that woman and for
Mm.
their baby.
Oh wow.
And when I would get in a car and drive home, I'd be in tears. I'm like, God, when would that be me? I don't understand. And my husband and I had started the process of going into foster care and everything, and things just didn't want to line up for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I just was like, okay, God, I'm letting go of everything. I'm just going to let this be whatever you want it to be. At this point, I had finally told my sister and my mom what's going on. My mom said, do you truly believe that God can give you a baby? I'm like, Mom, yes. Stop asking that question. Do you truly believe that God will heal you from PCOS? I'm like, Mom, I've done everything
Mm.
and nothing's worked. And literally, I remember a week I woke up and I was like, I used to have a really bad thought process about my body. Mind you, I was body confident and everything. All of
Mm.
a sudden, I was like, oh, this is a problem, that's a problem.
Mhm.
And one day I stood in the mirror and I stared at myself and I heard the Lord say, I don't see what you see.
Mm. Oh
And I
wow.
was like, okay. And so I had to start complimenting different parts of me. and I started complimenting, and then I started making different changes. Like, okay, I wake up in the morning and I had a smoothie, and I would say I'm gonna go for a walk, and it went from going for a walk to, joining a body fit club thing
Mhm.
just to get curve fit. I wasn't. It was the goal wasn't to lose weight, just curve fit, get me
Mhm.
motivated to like prepare myself for pregnancy.
Yeah.
I started doing that.
Mhm.
And every step that I took to prepare myself for pregnancy, I just knew it was going to happen one day.
Mhm.
So my vitamin levels, I was like, yeah, I'm going to still go to the OBGYN. I'm going to get my labs. I want to make sure my labs look good, my
Mhm.
sugars come down, and my cholesterol looks great.
Mhm.
And I remember like my progesterone levels were a little bit off and all this kind of stuff. So I said, okay, whatever we have to do to get that to be better, that means lowering my stress level, I will do that. So I had to let go of certain things in that season. I felt like a load was lifted at that time
Mhm.
when I
Right.
started to take care of God's temple.
Yes. Like taking care of your actual body. Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
So I was like, I'm going to take care of my body. I'm going to work out. I'm going to do the labs. I'm going to watch what I'm eating. I'm going to enjoy what I'm eating, but I'm going to watch them, all that. And it took us almost 4 years,
Mhm.
to become pregnant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, but it started with me saying, I have to take care of what God values the most. And when he told me to look in the mirror, he doesn't see what I see. He didn't see, I couldn't see what he see,
Mhm.
So I had to take care of cleaning, up my emotional health, you
Yeah.
know,
Oh, that's
and
so important.
right, cleaning my emotional health and making sure I'm secure in my faith and my understanding of who he is and what
Mhm.
he's created me to be
Mhm.
and what he can do. I had to believe that,
Yeah.
but he also had to teach me how food can help me heal
Mm.
and not be a crutch for me to just, say, hey, I'm going to go eat this burger and that cookie because it looks good right now and I'm an emotional mess.
Yeah.
So
Can you
it
talk
was a
about that a little bit when you said you felt like he was showing you food could heal? What does that mean?
food could heal. So I actually, like I said, I went to get my labs done.
Mhm.
I found out, and I've kind of really always knew that I was anemic. I mean, growing up, I had anemia all the time, but I
Mhm.
never knew, and it's kind of weird that I didn't know this because I wrote my thesis on vitamin D deficiency in African
Oh wow.
American. Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
and I never knew I had it severely.
Wow.
So a bottle of vitamins that can cost you from $5 to $10,
Mhm.
right? So has a lot to do with controlling the sugars of the body, energy, fatigue, all of that into your vitamin D. And as African American and Black individuals, we don't absorb vitamin D through our skin naturally, like sitting out in the sun. We have to sit there for like 16 hours or more.
Right.
Who does that? Period.
Mhm.
So I found that I was chronically vitamin D deficient.
Mm. Mhm.
And of course that causes you not to be able to ovulate, or even have very spunky eggs, you know.
I did not know that. I
Hmm.
had no idea. I remember my
Yep.
doctor was telling me that I was vitamin D deficient, and I didn't realize how that was related to my egg health.
Correlation.
I was like,
Your egg count,
never know.
your egg health is very important. It's very
Yeah,
important.
yeah.
So we went through the process of just really just looking at all of my chemicals, my levels, and making sure that I have folic acid. There's a lot of people who's L-methylfolate, which is a derivative of folic acid. You're deficient in that as well. That causes the depressive feeling, the lack of energy,
Mm-hmm.
and motivation. Even like your sexual health suffers
Mm-hmm.
as well, because you're not wanting to engage with your spouse.
Yeah.
A lot of that and depression falls into it, and anxiety as well. So I learned a lot about myself, what I have been teaching others for a long time,
Mm.
because we tend to not pay attention to ourselves.
Right, right.
And so once I got to that point and I understood that, I realized, oh my goodness, I can help myself. by just saying, okay, we're going to do a green smoothie every morning.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to ensure that it's like a protein packed smoothie with spinach and kale. I mean, it doesn't sound like it tasted great, but it tasted good to me,
Yeah.
coconut milk. I cut down foods that were inflammatory causing foods. I'm a very big cheese eater.
Mm-hmm.
And dairy, unfortunately, is one of those foods that
Oh my
cause
gosh, I love
inflammation.
dairy. I love the
Yeah.
dairy, but I've been seeing that a lot of research, a lot of
Yes.
PCOS material does say that to cut out the dairy, to
Cut
cut it
out the
out.
dairy. And I did. I cut out the cheese. I cut out the dairy, and I became actually pescatarian for
Mm-hmm.
almost 8 years. I've been a pescatarian now.
Oh wow.
So, and it was until this pregnancy, because of iron levels, that I had to re-include eating chicken, which was
Mm-hmm.
really hard for me. But and that was because my iron levels just plummeted, and they were like, "Well, you need to eat some protein. Let's have you eat some chicken." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh," but it helps me out, helps me for where I'm at in my pregnancy.
Right.
But previous to that, I eliminated those, and it's not to say that those who don't eliminate that won't have, will automatically have success with PCOS.
Mm-hmm.
I just understood that I needed to cut them out because of the inflammatory process.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that ice cream, yogurt, I had to find substitutes for those. You know, I had to find substitutes, and they're great. We're in a great time, everybody, where we have soy,
That's
which I
true.
kind of stayed away from still
That's
because
true.
of estrogen.
Oh yeah, that's
But right, so I stayed away from that. But I was an almond and a coconut ice cream
right.
person,
There's some
and
really good almond-based ice creams and desserts. I love
right,
that stuff. It's not
right.
quite like the milk, but it'll do the job.
Yeah, it actually tasted really great, and I really started looking at my carbohydrate count. Like, where could I have cut back? What could I substitute? And around that time was when that cauliflower whole thing just started rolling
Oh, the
out.
cauliflower rice craze.
Right. It started really rolling out. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and jump on that bandwagon.
Yep.
I'm a pasta eater. I love pasta. So
Same.
I decided that that was something I was going to take out, because carbs, some carbs, especially depending on what kinds they are, can cause inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about a metabolic syndrome where there's disorder of the hormones, there's inflammatory factors as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I decided that I'm going to make sure that the foods that I'm eating don't cause additional inflammation to what I already have from stress.
Mm-hmm.
So your stress levels could be good, and it's still stress, and it still causes inflammation. So you don't want to make your food cause inflammation as well.
Mm. Oh, that's good. That's good to know.
So I just started thinking in that regard. And as far as water intake, and we all know this, drinking half your body weight in ounces,
Mm-hmm.
daily became a challenge for me. But I decided that that was something I was going to do. Make sure I'm flushing the toxins out of my body. I'm flushing my kidneys constantly, because whenever you get pregnant, your kidneys work 3 times harder. You
Oh.
know, they're working harder. Yeah, they're working harder because you got to produce urine for you and for baby,
Mm-hmm.
so your hydration, and you don't want dehydration. So I started practicing some things that I would do during my pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
And
You
one
started
thing,
practicing these things before the pregnancy, correct?
right,
Okay.
right,
Gotcha. Okay.
before the pregnancy. So you kind of make it it's a habit now. It's stuck with you, because I always thought about, if I practiced it, it's going to happen.
Yes. Oh, I love that mentality. 'Cause
Yeah.
our minds are so powerful, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. One of the most powerful tools we have are our minds. So
Mm-hmm.
I said, if I practice it now, it's going to happen. And health pregnancy is one of our healthiest states.
Mm.
People were like, I have more energy, because you're trying to protect a baby. You're trying, something precious is growing. So we're
Right.
protecting, we're nourishing that baby. So I figured, you know what? I'm going to prepare the space for the baby, and I'm going to continue that into my pregnancy.
Right.
So when we found out we were pregnant with my son, although I knew and I believed for it, I couldn't believe that it actually happened.
Really?
Yes, I was in shock.
This was what you had been preparing for. All the
Right,
effort,
right.
the lifestyle changes, the nutrition changes, all of that. You were preparing for
Yeah,
this.
I was prepared for it, but it's still an absolute shock because again, especially in the field where I work, you have your scientific brain and you have your
Mm.
faith brain. Faith that one day it'll happen. Scientifically, like, well, God, this has to come into alignment before this happens, you know.
Right, right.
So, and that's where I always struggle, and I still struggle there, and I'm always asking God for His direction with that. That I let go of that and really allow Him to move. So
Yeah.
that's exactly what happened. Just walking through this journey of PCOS, I learned more about my relationship with the Lord, and I
Mm-hmm.
learned what I needed to do to participate in His blessing.
Mm.
And we have to participate. We have to do our part. You
Yeah.
know, whatever it may be, changing our food, changing our mindset, changing our way of serving others,
Mm-hmm.
because we can get so caught up and be depressed and the my time, God, my time, what's going on? And God's like, no, it's my time,
Mm-hmm.
my time. I want you to pour my time. So my advice to women, some advice that I would give women would say,
Yeah.
don't don't cut the journey short.
Mm-hmm.
We so want a result. We so want a positive test, and we so
Right.
want PCOS to go away. And I firmly believe if we do our part, you know, and seek the help that we need for that season, it will happen.
Yeah.
However, in during the journey, let's try to learn more about ourselves, learn more about what we need, because we're gonna have to use that during our parenting moment.
Mm.
We're
Okay.
going to have to
Good
use
point.
that as we grow a pregnancy and become a parent,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or carry a pregnancy. It's all a process. And if we think about it that way, it helps more. And I know the struggle so well. I
Yeah.
know it so well that, and I can tell you that it is possible. It's possible. We
Yeah,
just
I
have to
mean,
take a
you're
journey.
a living, breathing testimony that is possible. You're on pregnancy number two.
Number two, and again, I can tell you about that one because this happened this year in November of last year. We go to the OBGYN. Of course, they're in, you know, regular checkup. And they're like, "Do you guys want to have any more kids? Is that something you're desiring?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah." It's kind of talk, and I answered just like this way, "Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, we can talk about it." But you have so much traumatic residue
Mm.
from trying with your my first
With
I
your
did
first one. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
trying. It's like a lot of residue. You're like, well, I went through all this, and it's not that I don't have faith God will do it. It's just, do I really want to go through this thing again? Because the first
Again.
thing
I really want to go through this process again.
again.
Yeah.
So I remember saying that to the OB, and first thing, and I hadn't changed OBs at this time yet, and I knew I should have. But he's like, well, here's all your scripts to start your hormonal treatment for IUI or IVF, whichever path you desire, because I don't see this happening again.
Oh.
And I looked at him like, okay. I took the scripts, and mind you, I mean, I'm a provider, but I'm on the other side of the fence this time because I'm his
Right. You're a
patient.
patient at this point.
Right. So in my mind, like, you didn't even try to sell me any hope, no labs, no nothing. Great. Took it home, and he was like, well, your ultrasounds are saying that your ovaries they are looking a little bit more inflamed and all of this mess. I go home, and I remember crying to my husband. I'm like, here we go again. And I knew my husband wanted another child.
Mm-hmm.
So I just looked at him. I'm like, I don't know if I can go through that again. And he's like, he literally told me, he's like, you won't have to go through that again. He's like, he
Mm.
did it before. He'll do it again.
Yeah.
So I went in for follow up ultrasounds, and sure enough, I had additional cysts from my previous before having my son.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, this is, and plus now I'm older. My son is 3, so
Mhm.
I'm thinking to myself, okay, the probabilities and all this kind of stuff. And
Right.
finally, I remember one morning I was in my prayer closet and I told the Lord, it was on my heart so heavy, and this is in January. I told the Lord, I'm like, God, if you don't do it again, I'm so okay.
Yeah.
I'm so okay with that. And I felt like I really let it go at that time.
Mhm.
And I went upstairs and took care of my son, and I spent the whole day playing with him because I really meant that. And next thing you know, we find out we're pregnant in March
Oh, of this year?
of this year.
Wow.
Not no treat. I actually forgot to start the treatment come February, like I was told, because everything that was happening with work and transitioning and all that stuff. So I was thrown back, but then I remembered, hey, God is faithful. And when they told you you wouldn't even have one more, you were lucky if you had one. He's giving you two just to prove that he can do it. And he
All right, Marcelline. So, if you could give a young woman just a word of encouragement who's found out she is recently diagnosed with PCOS, what would you tell that young woman?
I would tell them to, first of all, don't lose faith. It
Mhm.
can happen, and that it's a healing process. Like I said before, you get to know yourself during this journey. I would also
Mhm.
say that you learn to take care of your body
Yes.
and whatever deficient areas that you may have.
Hmm.
Um, and don't be afraid to seek a second opinion.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to seek
I
a
love that.
second opinion, because what you think you've heard may not be the complete story.
Hmm.
And the reason why I say that is because everyone's way of practicing is different, and it's okay to find someone that can actually help spark some hope.
Hmm.
It's all about giving hope and not giving a terminal diagnosis. So
Right.
that's what I would
I
tell
love
them.
that. I think that is so vital. And I hope that's what this conversation did for people today. Help spark some hope. I love that. Excuse me, because oftentimes when a young woman is given a diagnosis like PCOS, it could be very depressing and just get you down and discouraged. It can discourage a couple who is trying to have kids. So I think that's so huge to just make sure you're with a provider, you're with a team who is offering you hope. Thank you
That's
so
right.
much, Marcelline. This has been
You're welcome.
awesome, awesome, rich conversation, rich in faith, rich in encouragement, rich in knowledge. It's been so good. So, if someone wants to keep up with you or find you on social media, how can someone find you?
You can find me on IG at Dr. Marcelline Girlie and
Mhm.
on Facebook at Marcelline L. Girlie. That's for sure.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so
You're
much. I really
welcome.
appreciate this conversation today. Blessings to you and your family. And to anyone who's watching this, thank you so much for joining the Rich Couch, where we strongly encourage rich conversations, rich relationships, and we want to enrich your life. Bye, everyone. Thanks for
Bye.
watching.